If you're anything like me, you want to stay away from injuries, you don't want to go through the burnout, you don't want to lose your love of running, and you want to get faster. How do you do all those things? Well, today I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process that I used last year to get faster running at a low heart rate. If you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, I'm David Waters, I'm the plant-powered runner, and I started using the Maffetone Method in 2019. I went from not running all the way to running a 50-miler in October. When I went through the process of taking off 3 minutes off of my pace within a year, I was dumbfounded, and I was a firm believer that running slow will make you faster. The first thing that you need to know is it's going to take time. It's not something that happens overnight. You're gonna need at least a couple of months to build up your base, and I would say about 6 months at least to see where you're at. Before we get started, there's a few things that you're gonna need to know. It's gonna take patience. This isn't something that's gonna happen overnight. You're going to get slower before you get faster. Each day is gonna be different. Daily life can raise your heart rate, and so can coffee and the food that you eat the day before. So the way that this is gonna work is you're gonna take 180 minus your age, and that's gonna be your MAF number. That's gonna be your heart rate that you're going to run at. This may not all make sense to you, and you know what? At the end of the day, we're just runners, and this doesn't need to be so complicated. So the way I look at it is this. Here's the secret sauce, here's the secret formula. Subtract your age from 180, then you're gonna modify it from one of the categories below. Number 1, if you are recovering from any major illness, heart disease, or any operation or hospital stay, or are in rehabilitation or any regular medication, or are in stage 3 chronic overtraining, aka burnout, you're gonna subtract 10. Number 2, if you are injured or have regressed, not improved in training such as poor MAF tests or competition, get more than 2 colds or a flu or any other infection per year, have seasonal allergies or asthma, are over fat, that means basically overweight, are in stage 1 or 2 of overtraining, or have been inconsistent or just starting out or coming back into training, then you're going to subtract 5. Number 3, if you've been training consistently for at least 4 times weekly or up to 2 years without any problems mentioned in the above, no modifications are necessary. You can just use your 180 minus your age. Now, if you've been training for more than 2 years without any problems listed above, you've made progress in your MAF tests, improved competitively, are without injury, then add an additional 5. Now, there are some exemptions. The 180 formula may need to be further individualized for athletes over the age of 65. For some, up to 10 beats may need to be added for those in that category. This does not mean that 10 beats should be automatically added, but an honest assessment needs to be made. And for athletes under 16 years of age, the formula is not applicable. Rather, your MAF heart rate of 165 would be used. You're gonna have to buy a GPS watch that's got some way of measuring heart rate. It can be a Garmin, it can be a Coros, it can be an Apple Watch. Anything that has a heart rate sensor built into it is a start. Now, if you want to get more accurate heart rate data, you want to get a heart rate strap, and I would suggest getting the Polar H10 or anything equivalent to that. It could be even some of the newer models that are coming out. The reason for this is because your watch has a delay of about 8 seconds, as opposed to a heart rate strap that has a delay of about 1 second in displaying your heart rate on your watch. Heart rate is an indication of where you are in your fitness at the current moment. It can fluctuate with so many different things, from caffeine to the food that we eat to the stress that we're under and to the lack of the sleep. Also, if you're dehydrated, there's so many things that can affect it. Everyone is going to see different results at different times. And so when you're coming up with your plan, you're going to have to figure out how many days a week are you going to run, and slowly build up the mileage, slowly build up the time on your feet, so that way you can start seeing the results that you want. Or some of you just want to get out the door and enjoy running and allow the endorphins to do their thing to bring all the happiness into your day. It really doesn't matter what your goal is. Just know that you're going to need one. If these types of videos are helpful, please think about liking and maybe subscribing and hitting the bell to get notified when more of my videos are uploaded. Understanding why you want to run so slow. Once you figure out why you want to do this, it will make sure that it keeps you on track. So anytime that you start to falter, to start think about, I don't want to do this anymore, think about why you started in the first place, because that will keep you honest and help you move forward with your running and not throw in the towel. We all want to succeed. We don't plan to fail. We fail to plan. And that's why planning is so important, to make sure that you don't give up when things get hard and when you're not seeing the results that you want. Let me know how your training goes in the comments down below. I love reading all of them. Some of you are going to have to walk. Not everyone's going to be able to start off by running. When I first started, I had to run walk, and that was really frustrating for me. I've done a number of experiments with running versus walking. If you stick around to the end of the video, you will be able to see the results on that video that I posted. For those of you who want more of a detailed plan to follow, click in the description below and you'll see a link down there that you can download this half marathon training plan just using Maffetone Method way of training. If you're using this method because you want to lose weight, think twice. Yes, you will lose weight, but just because you're running, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You have to make sure the food that you're putting in your body is food that's going to be healing your body and not hurting it. You also want to stay away from a lot of the grains, like the simple carbohydrates, like the muffins and the breads and the pastas and the pizzas and the burgers. Stay away from the junk food. Stay away from the sugar. Sugar, sugar, sugar. And no, I don't mean that song, oh, sugar, sugar. I mean, sugar causes so many problems. So ditch the sugar and stay with real food and start to figure out the foods that are going to help you in your training, so that way you can run longer, happier, faster, and yes, ditch the weight. You may have to shuffle walk, and shuffle walking is not an easy thing to do. Sometimes it's easier just to walk, but you're going to have to eventually switch into that mode, because eventually you want to start running. You don't want to walk forever, right? You came here to be able to run faster. So you're going to have to start running at some point. And again, everybody is different. Every month you're going to do an MAF test. You can either do that on the same route that you run every single day, or you can do it on a track. And the reason is you want to keep all your variables the same as much as possible. Weather is going to have a big impact on what your heart rate is doing. And so will elevation, so will the wind. All of these things play a factor. So if you can keep all your variables the same, then you should have a good experience. Do it on a treadmill. That way you keep all the variables the same, and that's cool. I don't have a treadmill, and I really don't like running inside. What can you expect from your MAF test? Well, what you will experience is when you first do this, you're going to be frustrated and you're going to be so slow, you're going to be really kind of upset maybe. That's strictly up to you. But again, that's just where your fitness is at the moment. But where it's all going to lead to is every time that you do this test, you can do a 3-mile or you can do a 6-mile test. Or if you're in Canada, you can either do a 5-kilometer or a 10-kilometer test and see how you do. What should happen is your first kilometer should be your fastest. Your second kilometer should be your second fastest. Your third kilometer should be your third fastest. The longer you run, the slower you'll get. Before you go out and do any running, you want to make sure that you do a 15-minute warm-up. It gets the blood moving through your body and it's getting you prepared for physical activity. And so you don't want to do a test until you've warmed up, otherwise you may have skewed results. Now when you do your test, you will notice over time, month after month after month, you should be getting faster. Your numbers should be improving, not going backwards. Now, again, remember what I said. Weather plays a big factor in this. So again, you can't do the comparisons from previous months. But just know you should get faster. In the fall time, depending on where you live in the world, wherever autumn is, that's typically going to be your fastest running. Because in the summer, your body is trying to cool itself down. It's so hot. And in the winter time, it's so cold that your blood is going through your veins, and like your veins constrict so small that it's got to pump faster to get through. So your heart rate goes up in the winter and it goes up in the summer. Your VO2 max and your watch is going to be telling you that you are detraining. Just know that after you've put in the months of low heart rate training, that you'll be able to switch into some faster runs once the base is built, and you'll be able to start seeing those numbers rise again. It takes a while to build a solid aerobic base, but in time you will run faster at a lower heart rate. As the months go by, you will notice that you're going to be able to start running longer, further, at a lower heart rate. You will have cardiac drift. That is normal as you go. But what happens is the cardiac drift doesn't happen until you get further and further along in your running. I would suggest filling in your Excel spreadsheet with the date that you ran, what your pace was, the distance you ran, the temperature, your cadence, how much humidity, all of these things. And actually I have a Excel spreadsheet that you can use. Just click in the comments below. When will you know when to switch your training from full base building to include maybe some faster speed work sessions like tempos, fartleks, track work, things of that nature? Well, it's strictly going to come down to you. If you have plateaued and you're noticing that you're not improving month after month, but you're stagnant, it may be time to start to have those faster runs. Do that for about a month, come back to doing your MAF and see what happens. See if you are improving again. Phil Maffetone has stated that if you keep improving month after month after month and you reach that 1 year mark, you don't need to decrease by 1 beat. You can continue on using your same MAF number. But if you stop for a couple of years and then come back to it, then yeah, you're gonna have to adjust and use your current age as a starting point. Now here we are 6 months later. You've built up your base, you've gotten faster, you've seen results month after month after month, and now you've signed up to run a half marathon, and you're sitting here going, I don't know what pace to run at. Depending on what your goal is for that race, you need to look at a couple of things. Am I just going to run the whole race at my MAF number, or am I actually going to race? I'm going to run much faster. If you're just running for joy, then do what it is that you feel comfortable with. If you've got a time that you want to run in, well, then you have to start thinking about things a little differently. You can go out slow at the beginning and then add on an additional 20 beats and see where that takes you in the race. But I wouldn't do that until like the latter half. Or what you can do is about a month before your race, you may want to switch to start doing some tempo runs to see where you're at, because once you know where you're at, then you're not going to have the anxiety of on race day going, I don't know what I'm going to run. Recovery. You're going to need to at least have a couple of days for recovery built in, as well as you're going to make sure that you are stretching, you are foam rolling, and you are strength training. These are important aspects of staying healthy, because if you don't and you continue to run longer and your gait isn't very good and your form is really sucking, to be quite honest, because running slow kind of does that to you, what's going to happen is you may have an alignment issue, and when you're running and you're running so much, you may start to have a piriformis issue. right? And if you have a piriformis, that's basically a pain in your ass, pain in your butt. And that can be hard to get rid of. Also, if you are running and you are finding that you're getting shin splints, then you gotta make sure that you are stretching your calves, right? You are doing the appropriate stretching for your calves, because you could either have very tight calf muscles, you could have tight quads that could lead into all kinds of issues. So you want to make sure that you have a chiropractor, massage therapist lined up who can help you when and if these types of things happen. For those of you who want to have a connection with other like-minded people that are using this method, you can go ahead in the description below and click on the Facebook, post our photos, we talk about our training, the ideas that can help others improve on their running. We're kind of like a little bit of a cheerleader squad. Like I always say, get out and run. See you next week, everybody.